Welcome back to Here for the Common Game. Today we are going to talk about the Patron of the Moon. No, this is not a tribal Moonfolk deck. We do got some Moonfolk in here, but not really enough to make a ball in the tribal deck. I'm showing the adventuring gear here because this is your number one win con. I mean, it is. I have had the adventuring gear on the Patron, swung with it not get blocked, and was able to pump it for something ridiculous like 30. Now, this deck runs an inordinate amount of lands. I believe I'm running somewhere around 60. I built it as a blue landfall deck. So I'm going to have some of the standby, the landfall things, like the vessel and the sundial. However, the Amulet of Vigor puts in some real work here, because when you pay the one to drop your two lands into play, the amulet will untap them so you can keep doing it if you've got like bounce things, like of course the Moonfolk. You can bounce a land to essentially, counter that damn Doom Blade that's aimed at your, Moonfolk offering guy. You have Heathen Crab, because that can be a win condition all of itself with the Patron. Now, I do run some Storm Cauldron because, it's really good with this guy and it's just so good. Trailblazer Boots is just about a guarantee that you're going to get through with some commander damage. It's really good even against monocolor decks, because like in this deck I run like a Halimar Depths and a Temple of False God and stuff. Everybody runs non-basic lands. Library of Ling and Vincer's Journal round out the max hand size deal. Royal Elemental is another fairly decent landfall card. I like the Mystic Remora to help draw some more cards. The Mission here, the legendary enchantment that makes, all your opponent's creatures a little smaller or a lot of smaller. Number of islands? Come on. Yeah, it's, can't attack unless you got a defender has an island, but that's not really a thing. Now, tomorrow, the sun will come out in tomorrow. I'm telling you, he is awesome. If you would draw a card, Brainstorm, well, not really Brainstorm, Scry 3. Yeah, it's not Brainstorm. It's more like Scry. You get to pick which one you want. Wow, it just replaces your draw. So things that say like your Underworld Dreams triggers that your opponent has on you, nope, sorry, not drawing cards. I'm putting them into my hand. That's all right. Getting around the crazy wording. Some more Moonfolk. Making stuff smaller. The Tidewalker. For each island you control. Moonfolk. It mills. This guy works so good with the crab. The Breeze Caller. Uyo. Now, copy target instant or sorcery, which begs the question, what kind of instants and sorceries are we running? Now, obviously, this is mono blue. We're going to be running High Tide. High Tide and Hurkyl's Recall, because Brea exists. Enough said. But the flow of ideas, now 6 mana seems like a bunch, but you're in this deck, you're just about going to draw 6 cards off of it. It's just how it's going to be. Fabricate seems like a decent option to call. copy, or I don't know, maybe I'll take an extra turn card. Now, sack 3 islands. Here again, everything is geared on you're dumping mass. Now, there is no mana ramp in here as far as, because it's straight lands. It is straight lands. Most of the time, people are going to look at the Patron of the Moon as your general and be like, what? And there's going to be some time there. Psychosis Crawler and the Scourge of the Fleets. Scourge of the Fleets is a pretty interesting card there. I mean, most of the time, he's the only guy on the field left when he hits. Using Whelming Wave just because of him. Prosperity is just about the cheapest X spell to draw cards. Now, Mystic Speculation, Buyback, and Scry. Now, granted, it's 3 mana, because you're not going to want to cast this without buying it back. But for 3 mana, to repeatedly Scry 3, though I like that this card exists, but I love the fact they did not make this an instant, because we would have the whole top situation all over again. Mind Games, y'all saw that from the Genji deck. Ensnare, here again, we're just trying to tap down blockers. Stroke. And the counterspell of the Thwart, Forbid, because you can discard them, all them lands you're drawing. Spell Burst, a buyback counterspell for mana and not cards. So, Gush for card draw and Whispers of the Muse. That's it. Yeah, I opted not to run the mana doublers in here. I could, but I just don't have any more. They're all in use, and this is kind of a niche deck that just comes out of nowhere and just pretty much just slaps one person across the face. But everything else is land. Obviously, I'm running a Boseiju and a Nykthos. Obro returns itself to its hand. That's pretty neat. Coral Atoll returns a land to your hand. If you can return the Halimar Depths to your hand and replay it, that's pretty sexy. I call it the Ponderland. But that is what I have got for the Patron of the Moon. It's pretty neat. It's pretty niche. You're not going to want to play it all the time, but as I said, it's a quick video because there's not a lot to it. Play your dude and then go nuts with lands. And you can do all this at instant speed, but odds are people are not going to realize that you're playing with a 60-70% land deck. Anyway, that's what I've got. I appreciate you watching, but it's time to shuffle and cut.